Please. Yeah, so the title of our article is like as simple as it is. What is horizontal learning, actually? And me together with Marta, we were thinking about what does this concept mean to us, especially based on our experience and experience of last years when COVID started, and then a war started, and how it influenced horizontal learning. So we just put it all together, like in general idea about what is horizontal learning and how do we understand this concept. And probably, I do not know your expectations about this presentation, but I won't share like some concrete tools or something like this, but I would like just to start the floor for a discussion. What does it mean, this concept to us? Yes. And I would like to start from, I think, the most challenging experience which I had last year. Yeah. So me and my colleagues, we were invited to start a month-long intensive course for teachers from a medical university in Ukraine. And I do not know what's the situation with medical education in your country, but like in Ukraine, it's very traditional, the most hierarchic system, and it's very conservative. Like this university, they wanted to know more about participatory approach in the education process and how they can adapt it to their curriculum, actually. But not directly teachers, as we found out later, but their management wanted to improve their skills and knowledge like about more progressive methodology. So some teachers had a lack of understanding how to motivate their students. Some of them had a lack of skills how to work with diverse groups and how to take into account different needs of participants of their programs. So me and my colleagues from Insha Osvita, we thought that we definitely are the best trainers for this audience because we know a lot about this. But during the first online session, yes, it was online, and it was also a thing for teachers. Even that we had COVID already for 2 years, they still hated online as much as it possible. So after our first online session, we met a lot of resistance and skepticism among them. So they expressed prejudice towards the horizontal learning approach, and they said something like it won't work for them. And as we found out, also they had no previous experience with informal education, and therefore they had like very instrumental approach to the educational process itself. So they just wanted some quick tips or quick tools which could just make their lections more interactive, more interesting, or they wanted some gamification added to their curriculum, to their programs, but they were not ready to critically question their own attitude. So it was against our principles to continue talking about participation without actually participating. Yes, so we understand that we cannot continue our plan as it was planned before. So after first session, we needed to change our program, which we planned before. And I'm really interested to hear maybe something from the audience. Did you have anything similar in your practice when you met such a huge resistance among participants? Or you have feeling that horizontal learning probably wouldn't work with these people? I don't know, maybe you can share it by voice or in the chat when you had something like this. Or if not, it's also interesting that you didn't have something like this.
There's one hand, Narina. So if okay.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Narina Teknejan from Eastern European Network of Citizenship Education, ENC. Back in Armenia, we work with young people, and the horizontal approach, particularly holistic approach, which is a core part of non-formal education, is widely used, but it depends on the target group that we choose. The middle age or golden age people, they are not keen on this holistic approach and horizontal learning educational system, because whatever they have experienced in Soviet system, it was too far from being holistic or horizontal. So main meaning is that it depends on the target audience that we choose. With young people, youngsters, it's more easy. Moreover, they're not keen on to have this vertical learning system. They want to be part of the process that is going on and to learn by doing. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Narina. If somebody else would like also to add something, but I do not see any comments. Yeah, just Vladimir, not for the moment. Yeah, so for us, like in some groups, because I work with diverse groups, and of course it depends on general culture and experience of people, but sometimes you can meet resistance like in 2 or 3 people among the group, but when it's the whole group, it became even more challenging how to stick to your values and continue talking about participatory approach with the group who is not ready to experiment, I would say like this. So we really dedicated a lot of time to explain educators that their attitude influences the learning process and why we cannot achieve sustainable results by tools alone. So we really invested a lot of time by explaining it, and we took examples from their real life. And yes, and just showed them perspectives how horizontal learning can actually deal with their challenges, with lack of motivation, with work with a group with diverse experience, and so on. So it really took us a lot of time, and we met a lot of struggle with this, but we really wanted to explain them that what makes learning horizontal is this: you need to add some specific spice to it, and it means that you need to change your own attitude, and like not just instruments doing learning horizontal and interactive, and you cannot just blame students or claim that as bad or wrong or lazy if they do not want to participate. You also need to think like in both directions. So, but in the end, it was somehow successful experience for us, because we usually in such educational programs, we have like part with practice. And in the end of this course, participants tried to adapt their lessons with students to make them more interactive, to make them more horizontal and participatory. So we asked them to collect feedback from students after this session, and for like not every teacher actually used this opportunity, because they were afraid actually to lose their face among their students and to experiment. But some of them tried, even skeptical one, and they were surprised by the results that after the session, when they used the methodology that we proposed and used experiential learning and so on. So the students were felt more engaged, they felt more involved in the educational process, and they were ready to contribute even more. So this surprised them. Although this experience was challenging for my team, I think that the main success was that we try to be focused on their real life experience. And what is more important, like after every session that we have as teachers, we ask for their feedback to us. And of course, a lot of feedback was like negative and full of frustration, but still we tried to, every next session, we tried to adapt to their needs and try to find words that will explain our principles more and more clear to them. So we collected this feedback and tried to implement changes. And sometimes when we couldn't implement it, we just were clear and transparent, like we cannot change it, yes, because of online space, because of this. So we were very transparent. And in the end, our participants just understand that they can influence the process, and it was unusual for them, yes, and they felt more empowered in the end. And I may say that at least like we had 6 sessions, and at least at fifth session, I felt the safe space for everyone because they were ready to speak up and so on. And I understand that creating a safe space for real and honest participation, it really took more time and effort. And when the learning process includes experience and needs of participants, it has more long-term results and receives more validation from participants. And as a summary of this experience and in general, I think that horizontal learning helps to switch from passive to active role of one who's learning, and participants feel more engaged, and we can support their curiosity in learning. We can also create a space for diverse experiences, and we can see the potential in this diversity. We can increase the voice of individual, yes, empower them. We can also support exchange, because horizontal learning is basically based on human stories, and human stories are valued in this type of learning. Also, additional benefits of horizontal learning is developing communication skills and collaboration, teamwork, and also the most thing important, that people learn how to learn individually. Because yes, the world is constantly changing, like massive crises like war, pandemic, climate change, natural disasters challenge every area of our life. World is brittle and unstable, and some things can be damaged or even ruined forever. So we are in a constant search for new perspectives and possibilities. And like nobody could feel himself separated from the pandemic, as right now because of the war. World is anxious as well, and social media and news always keep us on alarm mode, and we are uncertain about future, about choices and decisions we make. World is non-linear. Sometimes it's difficult to find connections among reason and the results to which it leads, as the climate change, yes, which started like 50 years ago, and right now we feel the changes in our everyday life, and incomprehensible. So information flows are such huge, so we truly cannot understand them all. They are complex, and like we do not necessarily should understand the whole information right now, yes, like how our gadget works. We just can use it, yes, and it's also the possibilities of the world in which we are living. And I think that education and horizontal learning really is an answer to all these challenges that world can bring to us. And it allows us to receive competences for an active professional, civic, and personal life. So the changes are dynamic, and the horizontal approach, because it's flexible, it can help us to keep up with the changes and helps to effectively adapt to them. And what else is amazing about horizontal learning, that it's not only cognitive learning, that you learn facts or theories, you also receive social experience, meeting other people and knowing their opinion about different topics. It's also emotional, because yeah, as facilitators, we work not only with cognitive, but also creating an atmosphere for our training, for our setting. And it's also practical because it's related to our life, real life experience, and we can turn these ideas into decisions and actions, practical skills and experiments. And yeah, the question which me and Marta was like looking answer for was how to create a surrounding for horizontal learning. And for us, it's based on these 4 steps or 4 pieces of the puzzle. So how to create it? The space is important because in a horizontal approach, surrounding matter a lot, and it can influence the process. If you want to build connections between people, you should not create physical barriers. Yes, if you want to talk about rural development, you can choose a location in the village, yes, to support your idea, or you can also create a corresponding atmosphere that can match with the topic. Yes, you can use some things that can support your topic, some quotes, posters, light. Even in online space, you can create, you can use tools which create this atmosphere. Yes, some emotional music or pictures, videos that can support the space and make it more open to everyone. Also, mindset is important because when you want to create a safe mental space, you should be open to hear participants' feedback, and sometimes it can be critical one, and sometimes it can be emotional. And as a facilitator, yes, you accept it without judgment, and especially a facilitator should be aware of its own personality and how it influences the process, how your strengths and weaknesses influence it, and what are they actually. And the better you understand yourself, the better you will be able to empathize to the audience you work with. And it will be easier to interact on interpersonal level. Also, balance is important, and I think a lot of things was said by a previous speaker. Yeah, in horizontal learning, balance is very intuitive, and you need to be balanced between breathe-in activities where people receive new information, breathe-out activities when they can relax and reflect on it. You should also be balanced in closeness to participants and distance to them, because it influences the process as well. You should be balanced between diversity of thoughts and space of finding common solution if it's needed. And sometimes it's not easy to find a simple answer. Should you follow the group or should you lead the group? It's also a question which a facilitator asks himself or herself all the time. And you need to see the picture like in details, but also not to lose the whole picture from the side. And power relations, yeah, and it's not just only about active participation of audience in the learning event, but also on the basic level, it means that people are involved in decision making, in decisions that affect their lives. And also, I see the goal of horizontal learning to make participants capable of using resources to meet their needs in learning events. And yes, as a facilitator, you should not only be aware of the power that you have, but also give the power to participants that they have. And yeah, and move away from strategies which are used to you or to participants to make change. And it can be in transparent decisions, yeah, how transparent you are before your participants. It also can be the choice for them to say no to something that you propose. And it's also shift to collaboration mode, co-creation mode with the audience, and also celebrate accomplishment rather than praise and reward, which also very common thing in education. Yes. And also accept discomfort, which can be because of horizontal approach, and be authentic in everything what is going on. So for me, it's like a basis on which horizontal learning exists, but maybe you would like to add something more to the table. I will be really glad to hear some thoughts from you, or maybe you have any questions for me as well.